Beat Baseball World. Howdy! Welcome back to the Beat Ball Blues Show. It's me, the looks of TBBS. Joined by my friend again, the brains, Seth Clark. I've been practicing that, but not with the headphones on. It didn't work.
What the hell was that?
I'm just trying to get a little better sound to it, but the headphones went flying as soon as I started shaking my head. Hey, what's up, Seth Doggy?
Oh man, always surprised to see what you bring out on your opening credits. I'm glad to know that you're the looks of the crew. I can handle
it. Which is kind of bad for the looks of our show, I guess, as a whole. But we got brains. Man, we're going to hear that noise all the way through, and I already know who it is, I bet. So we might as well, before I share the big news, cool news I got to share, on behalf of the show, I might as well bring in our little panel, and then we'll jump in later to what this is about. But the one I'm sure it's making all the noise with all his bling bling on his wrist, the National Beat Baseball Association board member Axel Cox from San Antonio Jets. That's you jingling, right?
No, man, I was muted. I was muted.
Oh, all right. I guess now I gotta call somebody else out. But welcome back, X. How are you, bud?
I'm good, man. Appreciate the opportunity to speak on here once again.
You're welcome. You owe us. You'll check hopefully in the mail. Now it's us getting $300. That dog.
Yeah, right.
I'm still waiting on my Fonzie ball.
Hey, you heard us right here on the show. Order it, man. I don't know why you ain't sent it. Actually, after I share what I'm going to share, you may change your mind on what you want. We also have Beatball Nation trouble causer for the Gateway Archers, Chad Dillon. What's happening, Chad? Welcome back.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I want to say quickly though, there's no offense and I hope no foul with the state of Texas. I brought my cowboy hat today just to let them all know that I'm pro Texas.
You think that's gonna stop D. Smith from whooping your ass?
I just got as a Cowboy fan, I gotta wonder. I'm wondering, is it a Cowboy hat or is it an America's team hat?
It would be a traditional 10-gallon cowboy hat.
Straw or felt?
It is. Well, last year it was straw.
Now you're talking Neil's language.
Yeah. Let the old white man jump in.
Yeah, exactly. The good old boy network, man. You guys.
Last year we were in Kansas, so I went with straw. But this year we're in Texas, so I went with felt. So
is your straw hat? You got it all like what's that called when they like bend the rim or whatever?
It was. My straw hat was nice. It tragically was lost in a vehicular accident, so it's gone forever. So we'll have to replace it.
Listen how disappointed Seth sounds.
Some moment of silence for the death of the hat.
Another redneck lid down the toilet. Also joining us, we have one more guest, someone we're just meeting for the first time, Mr. Laurent Carter. Welcome, Laurent. I guess that's your pimp jewelry I hear over there jingling. If it's not Axe, I know it's not Chad in his cowboy hat. Laurent?
See, you offended another person.
I know. Yeah. I'm good. I don't know if that's me or not, but
do you have a bracelet on?
Yeah, are you wearing jewelry?
Yeah, I'm wearing jewelry.
Right. Like, man, what are you talking about? Of course I'm wearing jewelry.
Well, I keep a championship ring on my hand, my watch and my necklace and my spirit bracelet. So,
all right. So which championship ring? I'm sorry, I get lost.
One of my football. I haven't earned one from beatball yet, but I got.
All right. Well, now you're talking about language. Now, what football championship ring you got on?
I got right now. I currently have on my conference title championship from Georgetown College. But also have a national runner-up and a national championship ring.
All right, Georgetown College. What's that? D3, D2?
NAIA.
NAIA. All right. Okay. Good. Nice. You have a good experience there. You like playing football there?
Oh, I did.
All right. I did. Hey,
It
man,
was a blessing. It was a blessing. I'm enjoying beat ball even more though.
all right. Hey, after the show, I want to talk to you a little bit. My
Okay.
son's going through the recruiting process and stuff like that. So.
Oh yeah, hey
So, yeah,
man,
you
boy,
know,
could
you
I
know.
give somebody heads up about that?
Yeah,
Because that's how I ended up at Georgetown. I was going D1, but that's neither here nor there. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Again, I'm enjoying playing beat ball more than that. Because that, you know, college sports and semi-pro sports, that's work. Like this is fun, you know. And so hey, this is night and day.
If Chad next, if you guys be cool with us indulging just a little bit further, because we've never met LaRon before. What team are you with? You're in Indiana, so are you with the Edge, the Thunder?
I'm with the Indy Edge.
All right.
The Indy Edge.
How long have you been with them? How long you been in beat ball?
This is I don't know which year we start with, because we skipped the pandemic year, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, but the summer or the fall rather of 2019 was actually the first time I got introduced that I even heard of the game. If I had heard about this a long time ago when I first lost my eyesight, I'd have been trying to play.
How long ago was
and
that?
everything.
How long ago?
18 years ago.
Okay.
I mean, I've had vision problems my whole life, but so I played baseball and I played sports from a different perspective, literally. You know, I really couldn't see the ball, so I played the game a different way. But beat ball, I only got introduced to this in the fall while I was at Boston. Actually, by James Michael, the legendary James Michael himself.
Defensive all-star.
Yeah.
I got to ask you, what football position? You sound like a bigger guy, man. You sound like a mean guy. Like,
well, I started off.
You and hurt people.
I played running back and I played strong safety. I long snapped and I was a wedge buster on the kickoff team. And then I moved over to defense, and after a couple of shoulder injuries, I moved over to defensive end.
Hey man, guaranteeing to keep a spot on any roster, how important was learning to long snap?
Oh, well, put it this way, that's the last thing I did, even after shoulder injuries and everything. That was the very last thing I did.
Yeah, that is no easy chore.
It's not.
When somebody like I know, Greg Parr's stepson got into college specifically because he could long snap. So,
and that's a very important job.
Yeah. Well,
very
cool, man. Cool.
Yeah.
Very nice to meet you. It's cool.
Yeah,
you and your teammate Aaron C, both couple ex football players.
Yeah. You can probably tell by the way we run. You know, that's the hardest thing for me to do in this sport is to be quiet while I'm running. You know, I'm used to grunting. I'm used to grunting. As soon as I hit the ball the very first time and they heard me running to the base, I was like, "Oh, Leron, no, hey, you can't do that. I'm coming down the base." They're like, "No, you cannot do that."
I don't believe John Parker ever played football. I could be wrong, but that guy grunted at the plate. He grunted down the line.
Yes.
So that's not just a football thing.
Yeah, hey, it takes a lot to get all this moving, man. And thank God it's the dummy there that can stop it. You know.
Hey, man,
that's real talk.
Hey, I've never seen
That's for the
you run
big
a
guys,
base
you know what I
before,
mean?
But that dummy does not stop you.
You're right about
takes
that.
a beating, man.
You're right about that. It helps brace the fall a little bit. It lets you know it's time to go down. Because every step, my body's like, man, just a few more and I'm almost there. I ain't there yet. Dang, I've been running. Man, I'm not there yet. Oh, here it is. Boom. Yeah, cool. We can stop now.
I love that you call the base a dummy because whenever I've been out public speaking about our sport, I've always described it. It never really hit me that probably people that don't know football don't even know what I'm talking about. But I've always described our bases as big tackling dummies. So
I call it a mix between a pylon, I call it a pylon, the size of a tackling dummy when people ask me about it. Yeah.
All right, we need to jump along. We have these gentlemen here as part of a panel, a discussion. We're going to have this kind of a continuation of the last episode. But before we do, Sepdog, we have the first ever official Beat Ball Blues Show merchandise, baby. I'm holding in my hand a tumbler. I'm going to turn it around as I speak. It says in braille and print, Beat Ball Blues, big bold braille letters. It's got like 8, 9, 10 pictures on it. The only one I know for sure, and I'm the only one on this call right now that could say that I'm holding in my hot hands. Lakeisha Holmes is in my hot little hands right now, somewhere on this tumbler. It's a tumbler. Kind of, I've seen you when you come out to visit, Seth. You have a big, like a big travel coffee cup that you have sometimes. It's like it's that same thing. She, Rosina Foster, from the NBBA video team that did the games of the week. She has a business. I've been spinning this cup this whole time, so I'm going to stop. Trying to give people who could see a chance to see it. She has a business called DotShop, where she does mostly custom stuff. People that want anything, you know what I mean? It's custom stuff. So if you want a keychain, t-shirt, coffee mug, tumbler, whatever, if you want to get it done in Braille, that's what she specializes in. So just out of appreciation for the show, she sent it on. But I also, talking to her, Seth Dog, was thinking that would be a really cool thing we can do on behalf of the show. Like Axe is here with the ball, he still hasn't got him. If you'd like a tumbler on behalf of the show instead, we could send him that, or anytime we do any kind of thing. Like any kind of games, which I actually am hoping now we're going to be doing next week. But we can like give away a coffee cup that says the Beatball Blues Show on it or whatever. But also, like, when teams are doing like raffles and stuff, maybe we send them out as like little door like prizes to throw in, stuff like that, just to kind of spread the name around.
Well, when are you gonna send me mine?
Dude, everything gets you gotta come into the office. Everything gets sent to the main office. Your half of all our merchandise is sitting here at the main office. You just gotta come in. Can't keep working from home, Seth. I can't work from home forever.
Forever, I know, man. But it's dangerous out there, Neil Don. It's more dangerous by the minute, man. Well, that's good. That's good. I don't know what the hell they look like. What are the pictures of?
It's 9 or 10 pictures of players in action, and she, when I was asking her, she had already sent it to me. So off the top of her mind, she remembered that Lakeisha Holmes was definitely one picture, and she said one of the Rodriguez brothers diving into the base is another, to the dummy. Diving into the dummy is another one. I'm assuming Eric, because I'm assuming the pictures are from last year and Tyler was injured, but that's an assumption. So she just had random pictures she put on there. But when we could customize what we do. Okay. You know what I mean? When we I'm a
little touchy, Neil Dog. I'm a little touchy. I'm a little touchy.
No, I mean, it's something we need. The problem is you and I don't have a lot of pictures of ourselves, and especially of us like together and stuff. So I mean, we're gonna have to get creative. But I was thinking like with X, if he wanted one of these instead
of a beat ball,
that he might not ever get. We could get some pictures of him and Lakeisha playing or whatever. I mean, I always want anything from us. I want to have the show name on it, the Beatball Blues Show, but that we could change the pictures. You know what I mean? When, let's say, our winners from what I hope we're going to do next week, that something to whatever, if they want to send the pictures. So, you know what I mean? We could figure that stuff out, but I think it's cool, and we don't have to keep it to cups. At some point we could do a t-shirt or whatever. So I don't know. I think it's cool, man.
No, it's good. It is, man. It is cool.
It's just a little tiny thing that we're doing with this show. Not like the world's recognizing what we're doing, but might as well have fun with the people that are doing it with us. So, all right. So enough about that. But thank you to Rosina Foster.
Thank you, Rosina.
DotShop. Everybody check out her Facebook page. She mostly does it through Facebook. She has a Facebook page that's DotShop, and then there's a Facebook group called DotShop VIP, where she does a lot of cool like little video things and shares some of the new custom stuff, old things that like people sent back or whatever. You know what I mean? People get I don't know. I'm not even sure if that's totally what it is, but she randomly pops up and does little videos of extra merchandise she has that she, you know, is unloading or whatever. And I've been tempted to buy, you know, me, I don't buy like a lot of clothes, so I haven't bought any. I don't even remember the last time I bought a shirt. It's been maybe in the last like 6 months, but every once in a while when she's doing it, it's like, oh, I want that. I want to get one of her shirts with Braille on it, but if you know, I'm not going to buy a bunch of them, so I got to wait for the right one set or maybe even custom make one.
Yeah, all right.
So.
There's nothing you'll like more than something you make for yourself.
Y'all
So-
have y'all's own merch, man. Y'all coming up now.
Yeah, you got that right, baby. So everybody, I mean, Rosita Foster's the voice of the NBBA. Gave it
She's
the day.
cool.
It's one of
She's
them.
cool.
She's good.
Oh, whoa, you're the voice of the NBBA. Come on, now, what are we
Thank you.
talking about?
I'm glad
Dog?
somebody
Yeah,
recognized.
you know, yeah, come on now.
So everybody go
Oh.
check out DotShop, please, and support our friend Rosina Foster. And I look forward to doing more stuff with her and her custom merchandise as we go forward. So this episode kind of ties back to the episode we did with Jared. Something Jared had thrown out to us really and to the audience was the idea of the Beat Baseball World Series being hosted at one location, or he actually mentioned, and I thought that was a good idea. Yeah, maybe even make it a rotation of 2 or 3 different places rather than just locking it in to one place. And since it's going to be a round table, I guess I'll start out and then go to Seth. And then I'd like to go to Axe, and we'll get into Chad and LaRon, and from there we'll have, it'll be more of an open thing, but our each one of our opening things, I guess, to kind of just share where each person is. And for me, because I spent time on the tournament committee for the NBBA for a long time, I've got over a decade of experience working on the tournament committee, both in the way the World Series used to, the NBBA used to find locations, and the newer way that it's being done now. And you know, Vernon Smith, somebody who's one of the first Beat baseball players I ever met back in 1986. One of our former just as a player, Bay Area players, and he called me like 5 years ago while the World Series was going on. I think it's when it was in Rochester, New York, so like 6-7 years ago almost. And he had the idea. He's like, man, you know, Neil, like the way the college baseball World Series is held in Omaha, Nebraska each year, he's like, man, that might be a good thing for the World Series to do. And he had the idea it might be better for like keeping the pool of volunteers consistent from year to year, and it might be better for bringing in sponsorship, whatever. And you know, and I thought it was a good idea, but I was like, man, I love the fact that the tournament goes around to new cities. Like when we went to Georgia in 2013, four teams came out of that hadn't been involved before, and though only one of them still playing, you know, it brought new life. The Rochester Beat baseball team from New York got involved because the World Series went there. We got a team in Minnesota because the World Series went there. So it is good for the sport to move around, but I also have opened my mind recently to the benefits of it being held in one place. And later on in the show, when we dive deeper into the conversation, we get more into the nitty gritty of the pluses and the minuses. But I was a hard no when Vernon Smith came at it before, but I gotta say, Seth, I'm definitely on the fence.
I guess I'm saying I could go either way.
Maybe I'm not on the fence. I'm open-minded to the investigating the strength of having it in one or just a few locations. Where do you stand on it?
I always thought it would be better to have it in a single location.
Really?
I've always thought that, but the location has to be right. I've always thought it. I mean, being here in California, right, there are no West Coast teams that go to the World Series. One of those reasons is the World Series are so far away. You know, they're just not they're not a present sort of thing. And so here we have California, you know, largest state in the union, with no beat ball teams, right?
Well, there's a couple, but they haven't.
They don't go to the World
involvement
Series.
hasn't been anything like what you're seeing in Indiana, right. Texas.
Yeah, where they're going to the World Series, where they're putting on regional tournaments and stuff like that. It's just hard to do. So I've always, and you know, from our Dogs days, whatever, I've always thought having the World Series in a central location, right? I like Rochester, Minnesota, but it's not a central location. It's a fairly central location, but it's hard to get to. I immediately, when I read that question on Beat Ball Nation, thought of Denver, because it's a more of a central location. But I've always thought if you could get a one area, perhaps like with a school type dorm sort of thing, you might be able to cut down on cost. You know, it would just be, to me, an easier thing. But if it was in a central location all the time, then everybody could build that into their travel budgets, and I think it would just expand the sport. So,
all right. X, I was glad that you reached out, wanted to come on here, because you just became a board member this last summer, and you came to me one point asking me about what my thoughts were on hosting the World Series in one location. So as a board member, that seems to be one of your interests.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that when I had got nominated, I spoke about on the social media aspect of my quote unquote campaign. One of the things was the fact that I thought it would be a good idea for the World Series to be in one location for all the same reasons that have already been touched upon. But definitely, I think that I see, you know, from year to year, the league is throwing out social media posts, or they're just, you know, trying to find volunteers in these cities that sometimes we've been there before, most times we haven't. And so people don't really know what beat baseball is. And I understand that it's a way to grow the sport and to get new teams and stuff. But I would like for that part of it, the growing of the sport and new teams aspect, I would like for that to be a part of maybe the PR committee, or, you know, some
outreach.
some other outreach. Exactly. And I think one location, one central location, Denver definitely fits that. I never been there. Rochester, Minnesota is where I have been, and it's a very well put together World Series. But yeah, Denver as well, and yeah.
Anywhere it has to be like we can't have a central location in the middle of 100-degree heat. You know what I mean? it has to be somewhere, man. 75, Denver, Minnesota, they fit the bill. Wisconsin, well.
Well, I mean, we'll have to. We can dive more into this as it goes on, but it's a partnership, so we're going to have a hard time hand picking a city. You know what I mean? We have to get cities bidding on it first and wanting it, and the places that we're hand picking might not be in the game. Chad Dillon, you seem to be this seems to be something you are in favor of. What about it draws your interest?
Well, I've been taking a look with our folks here in St. Louis. So we actually were interested in bidding on a future World Series and kind of getting involved and looking at the RFP and seeing how this has been done in the past, and then kind of paying attention to where we've been going. Ames, Iowa, Norman, Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I guess we like Oklahoma, Wichita, Beaumont, Texas. I mean, we've all seen the posts out there, and they're not all from me, about going to Beaumont, Texas next summer, and how folks aren't excited about that.
Well, I don't want to dive. That's like neither here nor there on our conversation. So
hold on. But hold on. I'll just say it is there because what he's saying is when you do put it in a less desirable location, as it might jump from year to year to year, there's negative effects. So it is part. I don't think he's not necessarily negatively. Don't attack Beaumont personally or whatever. That's not what we're trying to do. But what he's saying is a legitimate point. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. And if I could apologize to you, where I jumped in on that goes back a little bit to there was conversation about how Beaumont ended up getting the bid. And when I jumped in, I really was just trying to straighten out the facts, like on how Beaumont ended up with the bid. But I realized afterwards, I felt like I was part of the piling on. And I literally have no information on Beaumont as far as it being good or bad. I wasn't taking a side on that, and so I don't want to bash any city, not just Beaumont. So
here's my point. Yeah, and here it's okay. Here's my point. My point is Beaumont and all these other places I've named and a bunch I haven't are not easily accessible to our community. They're not cheap to get to. They involve multiple flights in many cases or really long drives. And what I would like us as a league to do, as much as we're putting out these RFPs to these different cities who are interested in hosting our tournament, or we're interested in having them host our tournament, I want us to be thinking clearly about the impact on our players and our players' families and their pocketbooks. So when I think about a single location and the concept or idea that we can all work together to find something that's in the best interest of the league, I want to make sure and ensure that that's also in the best interest of our players. I love Ames, Iowa. It's great. It's impossible to get to. That's a problem. So we're going to have to come up with a great location that's also convenient and relatively cost effective for our players. And I don't think that we've taken our players into account when we've selected the cities over the last, say, 5 years.
All right. Well, we will definitely dive more into like all that nitty gritty of that stuff. Mr. Carter, I would like to jump to you and get your thoughts, because there's been a lot of talk in favor of it. But when I first put out the post, this having it in one location is not something you were in favor of. I know you're open-minded to it, but what about it made you put the brakes on?
Well, when I first joined the game of beatball, one of the things that I really understood and really get now is that really a lot of this, and again, so I'm open-minded, but the points that I hear on the other side are really as a result of not enough awareness, not enough involvement, not enough funding. And so I'm not against, okay, we do happen to have it in one location. And first off, I'm no authority. Right? Just my opinion from experience from a different sector, right? But one of the things that I did hear that I'm very impressed by is actually when you said maybe it's a series of locations. But I revert that whole thought process back to one of the things that really got me involved with beach baseball was the fact that I heard that it was when I first found out that there were those of us in the blind community that were in the Olympics. I was like, whoa, hold it. Right? Because as I'm accepting my blindness as a gift, I'm now realizing that I don't have as many limitations as I thought. Right? Of course. And now that I'm actually involved in sports, so I understand that this is also about growth, because I was never aware of this, and I'm involved in sports. I coach youth sports now. I do personal training, but I also am from Kentucky, and this is a big baseball state that we send probably just as many players out of high school. Our kids are in the Little League World Series every year. This is a big baseball state, and I've come to find out that there's like one beat ball field, that there was a tournament there like some years ago, and so like adding to the plate of places that are aware. And so a combination of all of these things, actually, one of the things that Brother Axel put forth was a very good point, as far as like having another portion of the board that really focuses on it. Like my eyes are opening up to this as we're having this conversation, right? And then what our other brother is sharing with us is the fact, the cost. Now the cost, we as blind people want to be treated like everybody else. So when it comes to going to difficult places, I'm not so, and that's just me personally, like I think we ought to thrive over that. Like maybe our involvement in our PR within this league, and as we get out and we raise more funds, maybe that's something that the board can actually bring down. Brother Neil, you made a good point about cities bidding. So let us make our sport excited enough to where cities want to have us. Right? And so then from there, we can then choose and even narrow down to a few more states or just one. But I think if we did it now, I don't know if this game is developed enough, because then would we be getting this type of sponsorship, awareness, or participation as we would to make it as an Olympically involved sport. Go ball is spreading, hockey spreading, both of those are in it to my understanding. They're not limited to just one place, and they're still growing. And it sounds like they're offered in more places than possibly beat ball. I don't think the 25 out of the 50 states in beat ball have a beat ball team, do they?
I mean, they're
right.
No.
As far as I know, though, the Go Ball national tournament, the Nationals, is in a single location, Turnstone,
right,
Indiana.
Yeah,
right. But look how popular that sport is, and that's all I was saying. I'm cool with it being in one location. Maybe we should consider building our awareness and participation up to a point to where one location is easily demandable, because now we've got people from all over the country definitely coming. Right now, I don't even know if we have 12 states represented in the whole World Series. Not sure. That's just my guess.
No,
Yeah,
you're right.
you're
Does
right
that make
when
sense? You talk about you're definitely right when you're talking about the representation of the states. You don't see an even distribution of teams across the nation like you would see in gold ball, right? It seems like there are teams that are participating at the nationals in every in every state in gold ball, but there are teams in beat ball that are playing, or blind people playing beat ball, I believe, in these states that just are not connected to the NBBA on some level. But
I got you. Still another issue though, right?
Yes, it is an issue.
Because if we had all of those teams inclusive, doesn't that make our awareness that much easier? We have more places to choose from. We make it easier to present before the Olympic board. I mean, again, this is from now. Yeah. It's just an evolution from where we're at to where.
Just to be clear, there's no point in us really diving into Olympic stuff, because really that's a completely separate conversation. Everybody that I know in beat ball, in beat baseball, would love to have it as an Olympic sport, but what's going on here in the States has nothing to do with whether or not it can become an Olympic sport. Whether or not any sport, doesn't matter what it is played at the Olympics, has everything to do with its participation worldwide. And that's where the really only problem with beat baseball is it's not being played worldwide enough. For a sport to be an Olympic sport, it's got to be played on 4 continents in 16 different countries, and we don't
Okay.
touch that. So
You know,
again, there's no point in us talking Olympics
Right.
here, because it has nothing to do with where the World Series gets hosted, whether it's all over or in one location, will not affect the Olympics. So let's leave the Olympics off the table.
you know, if the NBBA were to be able to, let's say, you know, get a long-term relationship together with a certain spot, right? The NBBA might be able to do a little bit better on our field placement at the World Series. We might not have to be on top of each other. You might be able to spread the World Series out a little bit, make it a better competitive environment. You know, that there's things you could do with one spot, especially if the NBBA was willing to then dump a little money into it or whatever. You know, like you said, that partnership.
Yeah, let
stuff.
me speak to that, because it's something I've been giving thought as far as opening my mind. So I've said it on this show before. I don't remember what episode, when it's been talked about where we could host the World Series in one location. I don't know how it came up, but I said then that I don't think we've been at that location yet. And a lot of my saying that is based on like some of the locations we like Chad and others have mentioned, like Minnesota and Ames. They're nice locations, but it's an hour ride after you land, to get there, which I don't think is ideal for everybody. It's workable, and it's been done at many tournaments, Stockton, Rochester, Minnesota. It's been done at other places, but like when I was on the tournament committee, I never considered that ideal. If it's the best case scenario for fields and hotels, then we can do it, but I don't consider it the best ultimate possibility. But the other part of those locations is we're kind of outgrowing them field-wise. And you just mentioned that, Seth, about fields being smashed in too close together. It's a game of hearing. And when our fields are too close, it's hard to play our sport because of the external noise that could be coming into any playing field. But my thought was also, if it's in one location, see, one thing we've never really had to do before is break the tournament up like in one city, but at 2 different like playing locations. You know what I mean? Because sometimes cities will have 8 fields.
We did kind of do that in Wisconsin.
Right. But
yeah.
Even that we tried to kind of avoid at the beginning, and then just realized that we didn't have a choice.
Right.
And there are other fields. Well, I don't want to dive into all that, but my point is, if we were going to one place every year, I think having 2 separate playing locations within a city would be a little more acceptable and a little easier to negotiate, because as it is now, that creates a problem as far as having to get enough volunteers for both locations, having what's the stand with the food and drinks and everything, what do they call
Concession
that?
stand?
Yeah, thank you. Concession. A blank on concession. You got to get concession stands at both places. So like the cost, the demands and everything goes up. But and when you're going to a new city you haven't been before, it's like, God, can they pull it off? You have to question it. But if it's someplace we're going to each year in a place that's earned our trust to provide the volunteers at both places, to provide concessions, all of that, the extra porta potties, there's a lot that goes into it. I think it's more doable if it's at, if it's not just at some place we've never been before, a city people are going to be learning for the first time. It's a little more chaotic, but if it's a place we're going to each year, I think having it broken up a little bit would be more something we'd be more accepting to. Anybody?
Well, you've already given great examples, and we've already talked about the College World Series in Omaha. I mean, think about how that's changed from the neighborhood stadium, Rosenblatt, to where they're at now. Or think about
I don't have any information on any of that. So.
Okay, but think about the Little League World Series. Both of these places have been in the same location, and
college
every
college softball also.
right, all of that, it's all grown. And I know some of that's TV contracts and ESPN and stuff like that. You're basically going from a smaller, more regional interest to a national interest because of everything that you just said. You've been able to put all of your resources in one location, and from there you've grown the sport. And in those towns, Omaha, and I can't remember where that Little League World
Williamsport,
Series is. Thank you,
Pennsylvania.
Williamsport. The whole town exists for that tournament while they're there. Everything revolves around that tournament. And clearly, if we did something, it's not going to happen overnight, but it gives us something to build. I mean, we have 2 or 3 locations that love to have us. Ames is one of them. We've moved around. We've gone back to these places multiple years, every 4 or 5 years. That's the kind of resources that we need. And with a location or a couple locations, that's what we would have. Really grow.
Go ahead.
Brother Neil made a great point, though. And this is just, and again, I'm new, right? But it is what he said just a minute ago is kind of obvious, just in my opinion, is that maybe it is to be in a single location with the diversity, because I completely agree with you. Remember, I think the vision for one place is definitely ideal. But when he said we just haven't found it yet, maybe that's my reasoning too for don't stop yet. Because if it was a place that everybody wanted to go to, it would kind of be the unanimous conversation already at this point, right? It'd be like, hey, we all want to go here.
Yeah, if there was
right?
a perfect answer, people would be pushing it in numbers. So here's the thing, and this has been part of the conversation too. I thought Jared pointed this out, and I liked, in Beatball Nation, he wrote a long thing and he pointed this out, and I liked Jerry Wendell, his response. But this is kind of a big undertaking, really. This would for the league to go this direction. It's not even close to being as simple in my mind to do it right. It's not as simple as, well, which is our favorite place? Let's let them bid and see if they want it and just go back there forever. But it's got to be attacked bigger. And Jared pointed out how with the way our board works, like our executive office terms are 2-year terms. And the board terms are 3-year terms. So that opens to a lot of turnover.
The relationships can't be built.
Yeah, in a short period of time, a lot of turnover. And this is a big undertaking. So the first thing when I was on the tournament committee, look, in any role when you're involved in leadership, there's some things you just have to do and feel like you're doing what's in best. You're doing your role as a leader and doing what you think is best for the league. But there are some things that came up. I was still on the tournament committee when the way teams are being ranked now ahead of the tournament started becoming a conversation. And I'll be honest, I was against it. And me being for it or against it really didn't matter. I knew that was something that would affect every team, good or bad. It was going to affect every team. Every team should care about that. And so that's the kind of conversation, like to change that ranking, I thought should be put before the General Assembly. It doesn't matter when it's something that affects every team, it doesn't matter what I think as an individual. I want to know what the majority of our General Assembly wants. So that's the kind of conversation I think should be put in front of the General Assembly. And if the majority says this is the way we want to do it, then you do it. And that's what I think about whether our tournament's hosted by one city or if we were to continue going forward. It's a conversation that needs to be put forth in front of the General Assembly. And if they say to do it, then the league needs to sit down and come up with a business plan and revamp how we sell the league. Our tournament is an event. And I've been to, I've been to the big symposiums where there's 3,000 people there looking for events to bring to their city. We don't fit everyone, but there's a lot of cities out there interested in our World Series, and that's how it needs to be sold. I told Axel this when he was asking me
Hold
about
on. You know, Axel, you know, that you bring up Axel. I haven't heard like Axel respond to all this. You're going into like, you know, how we need to vote it in and structure this and all that. But you know, Axel, you know, the last time Axel said anything with everybody's points being brought up was a long ass time ago, like 15, 20 minutes ago.
Yeah,
And I'm still
I
wondering if there's something you wanted to say.
I had a question. I wanted to know, once Neil started saying all that stuff, I wanted to know, so for it to be brought to the General Assembly, I mean, should that be brought to the General Assembly as like a simple question, like, hey, yay or nay, you want a World Series in the same spot? Does it need to be a bylaw? Does it need to be a rule proposal? Or
I think I think the first step would be finding out what the majority of the membership wants, and if they want,
I would just I would push back on that. You know, it's not, you're never going to quite get right. I mean, you know, I mean, I hate to, you know, be you know, talk politics or stuff, but there is something to be said for, you know, kind of a few people having a vision and putting something in front of people. I don't think like just saying to everybody, hey, what do you guys all think? Let's talk about it at the General Assembly. I don't think we're going to get anywhere. Right?
Never, never. You guys are putting the cart before the horse.
Right.
You're putting the cart before the horse. Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead, Chad. I mean,
no, you're 100% on it. You know, let's go back to last summer, because I like what Neil said. Let's go back to Envision America. Let's go back to some of the rumors about them wanting to host, be a permanent host, and maybe Wichita, which we could argue that for and against. But you know, the idea that part of what we need, part of what we'll have to have with the one location is, in my opinion, is a prime sponsor, is an Envision America, is a sponsor who says, we want you here every single year. Because if you have that, then you can go to the General Assembly and say, look, guys, here's an opportunity for us. These folks want us here. They're financially, you know, pledging to support us. This is why we think this is a good idea.
Just me knowing and having already spoken with Neil about it, one of the things that he was saying was, for us to even get there, it kind of has to be shopped at those major you know, events where the World Series is being pitched as an event to the cities. We have to then pitch it as us looking for that type of location.
And that's really where I was trying to get with that. And listen, Chad and Seth, you guys make a good point. Like leadership still needs to lead. So like I guess I don't know what I was thinking. I'm not totally closed off to like generalist. The membership should have, I think, say in a big shift like this. But you're exactly right, though. It needs to be a presentation. Like we need to put it out to the cities that, look, this is now what we're looking for. And but it would be, to me, like a process. We can't just give it to a city that gives us a really nice bid, but hasn't hosted a World Series before. It might look better than any of the places we've been to before on paper, but we can't give them a long-term thing, you know, without at least going through one tournament there. You know what I mean? So,
well, I mean, that's, I mean, and again, this is the difficulty of this whole thing.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even be necessarily worried about that, because if the first one is horrible, it doesn't mean the second one won't be. Right? I mean, everybody will learn. Even the points you guys brought up about the distance in Ames and Georgia and Columbus and Rochester, all those things after several tournaments would already be taken care of. We would already have ways to put together shuttle drivers and all that would already fall into place, because it's there every year. Right? And so it's not necessarily as insurmountable as you might think. I mean, one of the problems though with like putting it in like Ames or something, it's like one of these little out of the way places, right? How many other beat ball teams, if we put that, let's say, if we could get somebody to do it in Sacramento, right, or in the Bay Area, we could generate 10 to 12 new beat ball teams easily. right? You know what I'm saying? And then you could have buzz around it, but again, it's outside. You know, you might not get people wanting to come there from outside of the, you know, the west, the western half of the United States. But again, there's money and there's people and there's a lot of different advertising ways or you know, commercial different ways to promote it. So there's a lot of things that would have to go into it. But what it really takes is somebody saying, man, I got a vision for how I want the NBBA to go, right? And they need to kind of do a little bit of leg work, you know, talk to some people, get some stuff, and then say, hey, man, let's push for this, right? And then you bring it to the General Assembly. I don't think you'll ever get anything past the General Assembly, but you know, I don't think it ever,
You make a good point.
ever happen.
But you make a real good point.
But
because
you'll
once
have
do
your day in the sun. Yeah,
Sorry.
well, you know, on the
LaRon was going to say something. What was he
Yeah, go
gonna
ahead,
say?
Laurel.
I was just saying he makes a real good point. And I just say to Brother Axel, man, just take what he just said and kind of run with that in regards to your idea about like the PR portion of the board, because that can actually help direct the league. Because right now, again, that's the reason why we're just having this panel discussion, because we really don't have an end plan. There's no goal on really what we're trying to accomplish, and we're not really an authority. But since you're a member of the board, as y'all develop a vision, man, that PR group can really help bring the awareness to the game of b-ball without us all having to have a tournament there, or they could do more regional stuff to help bring awareness, so that this task actually becomes a lot easier and more. Hey, now we can go to it, man. Hey, why couldn't we? What's keeping us from going to a Nike or a Reebok or the Major League? What's keeping us from doing that? Or the NCAA? Like, what's really keeping us from doing that? Because we don't have enough of our stuff together?
I don't think anything's
or
ever
vision?
kept. I don't think it's a matter of being kept from. There just has never been success when it's been attempted. I've never been a big part of any of the PR stuff, but Axe and Seth have been around a long time, like I have. I mean, the league has just never had big success at making corporate connections.
I
see my
have
point.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I have a question. I've got an opinion. I like Axel's opinion on this. And as I've looked at our request for proposals for different cities the last couple of years, or just what's on our website, we kind of go at this as a league like we're the Super Bowl. Like all of these cities and towns should be banging down our door to have us. And I don't believe that's the right approach. I believe that we've got to have some skin in the game. We have to, in some ways, go to these cities almost asking, like, we want to be a part of your city as much as they want us to be a part of their city. Because I don't feel like the current process, and this isn't an attack on anybody, but I don't feel like the current process is working, because we're acting as if we're bringing millions of dollars to these cities, and we're not. We're not bringing crowds. We're not bringing a lot of revenue to these towns that are spending, if you look at the RFP, it says $50,000 to have us.
Well,
So-
I would like to respond to that, because I can't, and you know, not swinging anything around, but I was involved with the tournament committee for a long time, and I know like the whole business side of it. There is a lot of interest from cities. I've been at the big symposiums, and you do close to like 60 presentations in a 3-4 day period, and you have to say no to a lot of cities that request. We would get hundreds of requests, and you could only do X amount of them. So you kind of have to go through it and pick the ones that are a good fit for us. Not everybody likes to hear this, but even though we are very attractive to a lot of cities, we're not a good fit for larger cities. Larger cities that get a lot of traffic through their hotels don't have any need to bring their rates down to the prices we're asking for, like California hotels in Southern California. You know, they're not going to drop from $200, $300, $400 a night to $100 a night for our event. Because during that time of year, their hotels are sold out anyways. They don't need to come down for us. Our event is attractive to smaller, like college type towns, really, because they don't have they have traffic all through the school year, and then everybody's gone during the summer. So we're more attractive to smaller towns or whatever. I mean but we're very attractive to a lot of towns. There is a lot of competition, and this is actually, I'm sorry, I almost forgot, and this is the part really why I jumped in. A big part of the problem is we have had tournament committee members that like sticking with comfort food. They're going when Ames and Rochester and cities that have shown us they can come through come forward with bids, they're going to get they've been getting heavy nods against newer cities because of the comfort of knowing they'll come through with us. And even though I've always been in favor of the best bid should win, period, we've been burned. I'm not going to call any cities out by names, but just in the last 12 years, there's been at least 2 cities that completely failed us on meeting their requirements of providing volunteers, this, that, whatever. So, even though I'm, I guess, kind of attacking, saying that they're going with the comfort food, and going with what they know, as opposed to something new. There's intelligence. I mean, our basing this whole thing of maybe having one location is based on the comfort of knowing a city could come through. So I it's a
So what exactly are you saying there, Mr.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Was that not both sides of the fence?
he's starting where he did where he started, man, on both sides of the damn fence. Exactly why you won't want to take it to General Assembly, man.
I'm arguing that we're not marketing this well enough, because there's a lot of interest in our event. We have a lot of comfort in our league with sticking with what we know, as opposed to going out to newer regions.
Well, no, that's true, but that's kind of neither here nor there as it relates to,
Well, it is when we're sitting. I mean, I responded to the fact that we're not attacking it right or whatever with our RFP, whatever. Like it's drawing plenty of attention. It's how the whole job is attacked, really.
Let me ask the question a different way, or present a different way. If we were in one location, do you guys think that we could generate more interest, more revenue for the host city, more fans who are going to come out and rent hotel rooms and spend dollars?
No. So you got it. This is the thing.
No.
That beat ball is not a marketable sport, right? And that doesn't. That gets to the core of the sport. We need to make rule changes to the sport to make it where like real spectators want to come see it, right? As opposed to people who know us. Right, those are 2 different things, right?
I mean, you either have a runner or out on
it.
every play. I mean, how much more exciting does it need to be?
I would say speed ball is really the only sport like that, and that I believe is the problem, right? Because everything is either a runner or an out, right? We can't lower scores because we can't figure out a legitimate way to put our fingers on the scale of what do we want, more runs or more outs, right? I mean, but if you were to have not every play be a runner or out, right, where you had multiple people on base or somebody could get multiple outs, now you are actually mimicking the game of baseball more, and you make it a more exciting game to the general public. I mean, there's a lot of things that have to happen, but again, I don't want to get off on that. That could be a show for a different time, but it's not really a marketable sport where you're going to bring in a number of people who are not connected to the teams. If you could bring in more teams, you can bring in more people, but you're not going to bring in people who are not connected to those teams. Nobody's going to Ames, Iowa, or anywhere, St. Louis, Missouri, to go watch a Beatball World Series, man. It ain't happening.
My answer to that would have been the same as Seth's at one point, but I disagree with that now.
Push back, Neil. Push back, Neil. Push back, Neil.
I wouldn't have thought that hosting it in one place would really, like, I don't think it will bring out more people. I'm not arguing that it would bring out more people. I do think it would, and Jared made this point, and I thought he made it well on the last show. The way the Indy Thunder tournament has built up over the last 20 years, the way the Chicago Bolingbrook tournament has built up over the last 20 years, I think has a lot to do with the fact that the consistency of bringing it back there each year. They've got a lot of sponsorship as part of that, and I do think we would see that more than we see it now when we go to a city one time. If we're coming, I mean, the Indy Thunder tournament is the championship games on TV. You know what I mean? If we're holding our tournament every year, those kind of in one location, I do think those kind of relationships could be built up where they're not being built up now.
I totally agree with that. And when I'm saying that more people aren't coming in, I don't mean that you couldn't make it more popular within the city and you couldn't get more connections within the city.
Spectators aren't flying in to see
Right.
the Beat baseball.
That is what I was. That's
Yeah.
what I was trying to.
This is no
get at.
Las Vegas event that
Yeah.
everybody's
Agreed.
going to show up for. Whatever. No, totally agree. But
Right,
I
yeah,
and
but you
again,
can
Jared,
build
I'm still
things.
I'm stealing it from Jared, but I agreed with everything he said. I think the Indy Thunder in the Chicago comments track record of their regional tournament and how they've built that in, it's gotten bigger over 20 years. I think that the Beat Baseball World Series could be the same kind of thing. If we're in one location, the corporate, I don't know corporate, the sponsorship, the additions that could be added to it, I think would build each year.
No, with everybody coming, it would be an event, right? People
Yeah.
could point to it. Like you said, you could be a college town. You could get the local, fraternity, a relationship, a long-term relationship with fraternities, for or sororities with volunteers. I mean, everybody would come. If you build it, they will come. There's no, and this is why I've always said, it's a great idea. It's not a bad idea. Have it in one location. The problem is just picking that location.
Well, keep in mind,
Or
keep
the
in mind,
location
you just-
picking us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But you did just say if you build it, then they will come. So that's
Right.
just like, that's just like Barnum Bailey Circus. Whatever town they went to, because they built it, people came.
Right.
So I think that, again, it's just my opinion, all of this actually connects together. These are all just different pieces of the same puzzle. These all of us actually just have different steps along the way to get to the same place. Right? Because each one of our perspectives is just another step. You're going to have to take one of these before you get to the next one. You'll have to take this one before you get to that one, so that you can ultimately end up at just one central location, to being able to go ahead and get corporate sponsorships. You better go ahead and start building popularity along the way, or you're going to be in one city by yourself. Right?
But it would have to be the job, really, it would have to be the job, if the league wanted to do it, of the tournament committee to
and that PR team
to retool how we sell this tournament and how we look, what we're looking for, change what we're looking for.
Part of a 5-year plan. 5-year plan.
Yeah,
Strategic
which again
plan.
comes into the problem of you know what I mean, all the turnover we have. So somebody in the league trusted would have to really be committed to the project. So
All right.
I'd be in if they wanted to do it, though. I'd be
Cool.
in.
Yeah, no. To me, I've always thought, man, if I won the lottery, got like $500 million, I would build a location for people to play.
that whole
I've
the
had that
board being having a high turnover rate is true, but what about the tournament committee. I'm not sure of the title, but the title that book just grabbed from Jan. I mean, she had it for a long time. Am I
because
correct?
she kept getting elected every year. I'm not saying people can't hold on to it for a long time. I'm just saying the possibility of change is always there.
Okay.
So I doubt highly that Booker ran for this position to get it out of his system for 2 years. I have no doubt that Booker has a longer. If we brought Book on to find out his long-term plan, we probably wouldn't have to break it up into 2 shows. No, Book has stuff in mind for longer than the next 18 months.
No, he wants it to be the beat ball bonanza. That's what he calls their tournament. He wants the World Series to be that.
No.
You know, one thing, I mean, it's been touched on, Jared touched on it, executive director. We don't have time today, but I mean, that's a whole show about talking about if we're going to reorganize the league leadership and move in a direction that creates consistency, it's the way to go. And if you look at the USABA and some of these other organizations, it's really the direction they went. And I think one of the things is kind of, I don't know if anyone else has noticed, but blind hockey is really getting big really quickly, and they're not 40 years old. So I'd hate to see them overtake the popularity of our sport as far as the blind and visually impaired community.
I also had the thought, sorry to cut you off, but I also had the thought, it's kind of like with just popularity or Paralympics or just all together, but baseball isn't really I know it's called America's pastime, but as far as like, you know, outside in different countries, people don't really play baseball. Baseball has a hard time being an Olympic sport as a cited Olympic sport.
Yeah,
so
the baseball and softball left the Olympics. I think they came back this last summer. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't even. Maybe I'm tripping on that. But no, you're right. Honestly, I again, as far as the Olympic stuff goes, I'm only concerned about keeping beat baseball being played in the United States, because the Olympics just seems. I mean, you know. We got Taiwan involved 25 years ago, and we've moved the needle a little bit, very little. So I don't know. No point in even
popularity of baseball is an extremely valid point by Axel, because it's obviously not where it once was, and it you know, we're now in a strike, so who knows if we'll even have baseball this year. So.
And I don't think a lot of people are losing sleep over it right now. So,
right.
I mean, I'm a Dodgers fan. I want baseball to come back, but as a whole, I don't talk baseball with a lot of people. I don't know, lost its luster, but that's neither here nor there.
It is time to wrap it up.
Yeah, I really have nothing else to throw out
there.
Oh,
well, I'm sure you have a lot to throw out. I'm sure if we said talk for the next 20 minutes, you can talk for the next 20 minutes. No doubt. No freaking doubt. But we don't.
But we will offer the floor
many
to
other
you,
ways
gentlemen.
to straddle the fence, right?
Do you guys, before we close things out, have any final thoughts on the matter?
Yeah, man. I would just like for there to be more conversation with the World Series being held in one location, and I can definitely I know some of the people on the tournament committee, so I could get with them and talk with them and see what they think, or you know, how we could go about this, tackle it. So.
Hopefully it sparks some conversation in the areas where we post the show. I appreciated that. I mean, this conversation sparked kind of as a part of our last show. I love that you know, that we're sparking conversation or encouraging conversation about ways we can enjoy improve the game.
I mean, we all care. We all love the game. We're all 100% bought in. So, you know, I mean, that's the beauty of it.
True that.
And I would just
Texas,
say,
I still love you. Texas, still love you.
Go ahead, Laurent.
Go ahead, Laurent.
Hey, I was just going to say, honestly, so I can say that maybe at least in my definition, how I would initially answer that question, that I would have converted it by the end of this conversation. I would say have it in a central location. I do agree on it. I just see that we need to go from multiple places to find that one wow spot, or that one place that's most beneficial, accessible, promotable to all of us in the sport, and then lock down on that or a few places like it.
We turned this, man.
Panel.
We turned
And,
this man. His first response was, please don't do this.
I
Don't
still think
stunt
I-
our game.
Hey
Well,
Chad,
I
if you
just-
love
I
Texas,
still
bring your
feel that
team out
way.
here. Bring your team out here, bro.
I still feel that way.
I
It's
know
just
y'all
more
got
on
some
where to
new
skin the
faces.
cat.
We want to see how y'all look. Let's go. We got a
Okay,
new we got a
okay.
new picture too.
I heard. Hey, I want to leave everyone with this. If Indiana or Indianapolis is the center of the blind sports community, why don't we just have the World Series there and be done?
Don't think for a second that Darnell hasn't had that thought in his head for a long. Well, you don't think Darnell's sit there listening, going, "Oh, well, I'm going to get a team together. We're going to put a bid to host." Like, you don't think he has it in his mind to have the Bonanza there every year?
It checks several boxes.
Yeah.
But it was hot last time we were there. Man. It was hot. Well, so, never been to Rochester when it's been hot.
All right.
All
All
right.
right. Well, thanks everybody. I appreciate everybody jumping in. I apologize to those that weren't invited to come all the way in. Although I really one, I didn't want the group to get too big. But also, I really only invited those who like showed interest in having the conversation rather than just saying, I want on to talk, I mean, that's my job. So we can't have too many people only here to talk. So, it deters some away, but nothing personal. Didn't want the group getting too big, but I appreciate the panel we had. Thought we had some good conversation. I hope it sparks a lot more. Everybody go check out DotShop, the Facebook page. Look for the DotShop VIP group and support DotShop. And hopefully we'll have more on that with our episode next week. Thank you, Septar. Thank you, Mr. Frank Porter. And we'll catch everybody next time.